Do you wanna be flashy? Do you wanna explode the whole screen? Do you wanna be a thunder god? Then this is the build for you! Okay guys, today I bring you a pretty unique and engaging build for the Invoker Monk. It is a Gathering Storm Falling Thunder Invoker. It is really fun to play. It is engaging. It is flashy. It is really cool, dude. When you are out there mapping, it doesn't matter the difficulty of the map. You just one-shot everything in the screen. When you throw out your lightning, everything just fucking dies. It doesn't matter. For bosses, you also kill them. You used to shoot them. It doesn't matter. You are pretty squishy, but your damage compensates for that. You are a glass cannon. You are going to just delete everything before they delete you, basically. It is really cool, dude. You feel even cooler than Thor. This build comes because I wanted to use the Asylum helm for something. It is a helm that is pretty cheap, that drops from Delirium, from Simulacrum. And I said, who uses this and why? And this is the answer, dude. You get 50% increased critical hit chance, and skills have a longer perfect timing window. And you use Gathering Storm, which uses the timing window. But in reality, what we wanted was the critical chance, 50% critical strike chance. I also really like Falling Thunder, so the combination of these two things made me want to play this build, dude. And again, tier 16 map with all the mods, no problem at all. One shot everything in the screen. A fully buffed map boss with all the points in the Atlas tree, both with 2 extra mods, both with Asmedia Spirit. This is basically the biggest map boss possible that you can have. Kill him instantly, no problem at all. Big fucking damage. Dude, over 60% of you are not subscribed. Why are you like this? Just click the sub button. It is quick, it is easy, it is free. You get content, I get a sub, win-win situation. Just click the sub button, my dude. Now, before going into details of how everything works so you can make the build yourself, I am going to give you a rundown on what is happening in here. Our main ability is Falling Thunder. Falling Thunder has 2 components, the Slam and the lightning projectiles. To be able to shoot out lightning projectiles, you need power charges. And how do you get power charges in this build? We use cast on crit. We have 100% chance to crit, so we are always critting. And then we have the Profane Ritual. The Profane Ritual makes it so that you consume corpses that are around and they give you power charges. So basically, after you kill one mob, you are going to start getting power charges and you will be able to spam your Falling Thunder with lightning projectiles. But for the very first time, when you don't have power charges, we use Gathering Storm. Really cool, flashy ability, hits really hard, kills everything in one shot. And it gives you power charges immediately, and then you can start going for the Falling Thunder. That is why this build is fun and engaging, because you actually have to play the game with this build. So it is not a brain dead one button build. You have to, hey, Gathering Storm, I get my power charges, I slam. Well, when you are just slamming, it is pretty brain dead, because with one slam you delete the whole screen. But when you don't have power charges, you actually have to, hey, Gathering Storm, you have to evaluate, do I Gathering Storm in here, do I Falling Thunder? And you go around doing that. It is mostly a one button build, but sometimes a 2 button build, right? It is really cool. I love this build, dude. So for the gems, what is happening in here? Of course, Falling Thunder is our most important skill. We go for as many levels as you can in the Falling Thunder, and if you can get the 5 gems, the 6 link with the perfect jewelers, even better. The most important thing in here is the salvo. That is what makes it, if you are seeing on the clips that my lightning goes all over the screen, it is because of salvo, because if you don't use salvo, the projectiles from Falling Thunder only go forward. You want to delete the whole screen, so you need to use salvo. Then, of course, we use primal armament, more weapon elemental damage. We are doing weapon elemental damage. There is nothing to talk about in here. Lightning infusion, of course, more damage for the lightning infusion. Nothing to talk in here. Ricochet is very important. Ricochet is what makes it so that you can clear screens in tight hallways. You will find a lot of layouts that are close spaces, hallways, whatever. if you don't use ricochet, when you use falling thunder and the projectiles go out and they hit the wall, they will stop there. But with ricochet, they will ricochet all over the place and you will clear whole fucking hallways without problem, dude. It is really, really cool. In fact, you even prefer the hallways to the open spaces because of ricochet. It is insane, dude. And then we go with pinpoint critical because, of course, we need the crit all the time. Look at this. I am 97.79% critical hit chance, basically guaranteed. You can take this to 100, but I made some adjustments in other places because I can sacrifice the 2% crit, no problem. And obviously, pinpoint critical helps you get to this place. So when you have power charges and you hit with falling thunder and you kill everything, you get your power charges back because you are critting all the time. It is really cool. In here you can see the melee and the projectile. These are the two damage components. This hits really hard. This can go up when you hit because when you crit, your damage goes up. You are always critting. This is really insane. Then we have Gathering Storm, which is our second piece of the puzzle. You can for sure go for the 6 link. I haven't done it, but I should have. I also have as many levels as I can in Gathering Storm. But in here we get Perfection. This is really important. I know that with the Perfection support gem launch, we mocked it because who the fuck is going to use Perfection? Hey, dude, it is really good in this build for bossing. Because what happens is that when you use your Gathering Storm and you hit the Perfection window, which you should be hitting it in there, you get a Perfection buff. You are dealing more damage for each Perfection buff on you. And this applies to the Falling Thunder. So what happens is that when you go to a boss, you use your Gathering Storm, you use your Gathering Storm, you use your Gathering Storm, and you get 3 Perfection buff. In here, they are not refreshing because I am not hitting everything. But with the boss, they are going to refresh. And you will get 3 to 4 Perfection buffs. So that when you hit with your Falling Thunder, it will be a massive amount of damage. It is one big crit with a buff. It is insane, dude. So the Perfection is really, really important for Gathering Storm. Huge buff for single target. Then we get Window of Opportunity. It improves the damage of Gathering Storm. We don't care if it reduces our perfect timing window because it is still a long timing window. Why? Because we have the helm that gives us a longer perfect timing window. Plus, it is really easy to hit it. Flash! Let it go. It is really easy. Then we go for the ambush because generally we are going to use it on mobs that are full life. Remember that Gathering Storm is our opening ability before we have anything. Then the ambush is going to hit, right? And then we go for Innervate because we are always, if you can see, when we hit the perfect timing window, we leave shock ground. Mobs that are on the shock ground are shocked. And when you hit them with the shock ground and you automatically kill them, it counts as them being shocked when you kill them. So you immediately get the Innervate damage boost, right? And this applies to the Falling Thunder. It is really cool. So you are going to go around all the time with the Innervate buff for the Falling Thunder. So Gathering Storm is basically an ability that is buffing your Falling Thunder in several ways. It is giving you shock, it is giving you the Perfection, and it is giving you the Innervate. And your Falling Thunder is really, really strong. Then we go for Siphoning Strike. What does Siphoning Strike do? Siphoning Strike makes it that if you hit a target that is shocked, you get a power charge. This is our second way of getting power charges. Why do we need a second way? Well, if you remember, our main way, which is the Profane Ritual, requires corpses to be around. What happens if there are not corpses around? You are not getting power charges, right? What is a scenario where this happens? Bossing. When you are bossing, normally, depending on the boss, you don't have corpses around, so you are not getting power charges. How do we fix this? Siphoning Strike. Siphoning Strikes, when you hit a shock target, you get a power charge. What happens? You Gathering Storm the boss, he's shocked because he's standing on shock ground, you hit him with a Siphoning Strike, you get power charges, you can Falling Thunder the dude, basically. Also remember, Gathering Storm does a lot of damage. You can kill a boss just with Gathering Storm. but we want to hit the Falling Thunder. So for bossing, we use 3 abilities. We Gathering Storm, we Siphon Strike, we get some power charges, we Falling Thunder, the fight is over. If it is not over by then, you Gathering Storm again, you Siphon Strike again, and you Falling Thunder again. Maybe because Falling Thunder, for something that we are going to see in the skill tree, it has a possibility of refunding your power charges. And if it does, you just hit him again. You can hit 2 consecutive Falling Thunders with full charges if you don't expend your charges, and everything will be fine. But that is the combo. If you're finding troubles to generate power charges in bosses, it is like that. You Falling Thunder, Gathering Storm, and then you Siphon Strike. That will give you the power charges to then Falling Thunder. Then we have the Custom Crit. This is what makes it so you always have power charges when mapping, and what makes everything really comfy. Again, you are capped on crit, you are always critting, you are always casting the Profane Ritual. What is the problem with the Profane Ritual? That it takes 2 seconds, as you can see here. Ritual duration is 2 seconds to complete the ritual. We don't want to wait around for 2 seconds for the ritual to complete. So in everything else, what we are doing is trying to reduce as much as we can the ritual completion time. How do we do that? We put in there fast forward, less skill effect duration, and then we get an overabundance. Why overabundance? This is weird, right? +1 to skill limit. We don't care about that. We care about the second line. It's 50% less skill effect duration. Now, as you can see, my Profane Ritual is 0.7 seconds. You can take this even lower by putting the Perfect Euler Sword and slotting something in there that also reduces even more the skill duration, but I haven't done it because honestly it feels good like this. And of course, we have the impetus that supported skills gain 40% increased energy. I recommend you getting, again, as high as a level that you can get on Custom Crit, and putting the quality in there, because the quality gives you reduced reservation and all of that. It is really cool. Then we have Herald of Thunder, not that important, but hey, it is more damage, why not get it? We get Elemental Focus, more damage, we get Lightning Mastery, more levels, and we get Lightning Exposure, because why not? Why not, dude? But it is not like, Herald of Thunder is not the source of our damage, it is just a little extra bit in there. Wind Dancer, obviously, defensive layer, really cool. We have Wind Wave, really cool. Ping, defensive layer. Lockdown, defensive layer. Then we have Ghost Dance, because we are using a lot of energy shield and a lot of evasion. We are hybrid evasion energy shield. Ghost Dance is obviously for the hybrid build. And we have Precision, just because I had 10 spirit lying around and I wanted to use some Precision. Not necessary. Maybe for your spirit requirements you don't use it, or you use something better like Cannibalism. I don't know. It is just to use my spirit. Now we go for the gear. As I told you, I wanted to use the Asylum helm. Really cool, because it gives you 50% increased critical hit chance. You can play the build without this helmet, but honestly it will be harder to hit the crit cap. You will be giving up other stuff to try to get the hit cap, the crit hit cap. So just use the helmet, dude. It is better, and it will make your Gathering Storm easier to hit. So just use this. It is not necessary, but I really recommend you go for the Corruption that gives you +1 to maximum power charges. Remember that the most amount of power charges we have, the hardest the Falling Thunder will hit, and the more projectiles we will send out. So if you want to fill the whole screen with projectiles, with thunder, with lightning, you need more power charges. So getting this Corruption is really cool. Not necessary, but really cool. Then we have the other 2 uniques we are using is the Hand of Wisdom and Action. The important part in here is adds 1 to 10 lightning damage to attacks per 20 intelligence, right? We are stacking intelligence in this build. Look at my stats. I have 355 intelligence, 100 dex, and 50 strength. What that means? That I want as much intelligence as I want. There are 2 reasons for that. One is going to be shown in the skill tree, and the other one is in here. It adds 1 to 10 lightning damage to attacks per 20 intelligence. The Hands of Wisdom and Action, with your intelligence buff your damage, so we are stacking intelligence. really important gloves. Of course, if you go for the corruption that gives you 12 lightning damage, that is fucking cool. I have in here the one that has 2 slots, but the 1 to 12 is probably better. And then we have the ingenuity, of course. Why? Because the ingenuity buffs your rings, and in our rings we have increased lightning damage, and that makes it so that there is rarely a belt that buff your damage, right? Belts normally give you defenses. I wanted a belt that buffs my damage. What is the belt that buffs your damage? Ingenuity, because you put damage in your rings, and then ingenuity is buffing your rings. So in my rings, I have lightning damage, and of course I am getting damage from the ingenuity. Now that we are talking about rings, let's talk about them. What do you get in your rings? Really important that you get increased lightning damage. Aside from that, everything else is just resistances, and really important, intelligence. We are stacking intelligence, which means that on every piece that you can get intelligence, you should try to get intelligence. So in our rings, we have intelligence, and we have intelligence, right? And lightning damage. Of course, the ingenuity also buffs the intelligence, which in turn is more damage. And of course, you try to round up your resistances. And our amulet is also a unique, because this unique, the serpent's egg, what does it give you? It gives you gain an additional charge when you gain a charge. So that means that you will reach your charge cap faster. It is really cool. It also gives you plus 20 to all attributes, which means plus 20 to intelligence. Really cool. It gives you rarity. It gives you chaos resistance. It is a really fucking good amulet. I think this is fundamental for this build. It is really cool. Could you play the build without this? Yes, you can. But this makes it much, much better, dude. Now, we are a hybrid energy shield evasion build, so we need as much energy shield and evasion as we can on the chest. And the chest is just that. Rounding up our defense, we go with the high resistances in the chest and as much evasion and energy shield as we can. I sacrifice intelligence in here, but you could put intelligence in here and get more damage. But yes, the chest is rounding up your defenses. If you can put intelligence in there without sacrificing too much defenses, it will be really, really cool. Then for the boots, you can use these boots, the power threads. I don't know if I have them over here. They give you power charges. Yes, I have them over here, the power thread. They gives you +1 to maximum power charges, and they give you 12% increased critical damage bonus per power charge. That is really good. You can use them, and they are a budget option because they are really cheap, but they only give you 10% increased movement speed, and the defense contribution from them, that is 86 evasion rating and 36 energy shield, it is not that much. So I decided to upgrade from them to normal energy shield boots. And of course, in there I got 30% movement speed, energy shield, intelligence. You can get intelligence on your boot, and rounding up your resistances. I think this is the best upgrade path. But to start up, if you don't have still a budget for cool boots, you can go for the power threads. They are 1 exalted probably, and they are really cool for the whole power charge stuff. And then in your quarter staff, you get your extra damage, of course, that can be applied to the projectiles. I have adds physical damage, adds fire damage, adds lightning damage. Something really important that you need on your quarter staff: extra crit chance. This is basically the most important thing, extra crit chance, because all your other effects that are increasing your crit are based off of this crit. So you need for the crit chance on your quarter staff to be as high as possible, so that all the other increased effects compounds off of that, right? So please, extra crit chance on your quarter staff, really fucking important. Level of all melee skills, pretty self-explanatory. You are buffing your Falling Thunder and your Gathering Storm, and I have dexterity in there. If you can get intelligence, it is also good. That is just stat requirements, right? So get crit chance, get levels, get dex or int, and get extra physical damage, extra fire damage, extra lightning damage is the most important one. Physical and lightning are the 2 best ones that you are looking for. So that is the gear. Of course, if you get charms, I have a stone in here. Why a stone? Why protection from stones with charms? because stones can fog you, you're gathering a storm. If they hit you when you are gathering a storm, they can stop you. That is annoying as fuck. Also, the slam is kind of slow. You have to slam with the falling thunder. They can't stop the animation. So we put in there the stone charm so that they don't stop us and they let us cast our bullshit. Now I have a weapon swap for a wand and a focus. These are not optimized at all. You can throw in here whatever wand and focus you want, but you want them to have a cast speed in the case of the focus, but it can also have increased recharge rate for energy shield. And in the wand I have increased in the wand I don't even have it, but you can slot the rebirth rune that gives you increased energy shield recharge rate when it is slotted in a wand. Why do I want that swap? To use meditate. Meditate gives you a lot of energy shield. Look at my energy shield. It goes up because of meditate and it doubles your shield. It doubles up your energy shield. Really cool. Before you go into the boss arena, when you just spawn into the map, you weapon swap to your wand and you meditate, and then you go back to your quarter staff and start fighting. It is an extra layer defensive. Again, not necessary that you go hard into. You can do it if you want. I didn't spend currency on this because why would I spend currency on this? This is just for the meditate, right? You don't have to go hard on this. And then for the tree, dude, for the tree, we are of course going to look for crit chance. What are things that we are looking for? Things that buff our power charges, things that buff our crit chance, things that buff our crit bonus, defensive layers, energy shield, and evasion. So you in here can see skill speed, attack and cast speed, skill speed. This is 36% increased damage if you deal a critical hit in the past 8 seconds. We are always dealing crit, so we are always 36% increased damage. Really important. We are getting as much intelligence as we can. Stacking up intelligence, dude, because we are getting a lot of damage from intelligence. Again, in here we get energy shield and evasion. Really cool. We go for the power within. 20% increased critical damage bonus if you gain a power charge recently. We are always gaining power charges. And +1 to maximum power charges. I have 6 or 7 power charges. 7 power charges. Really cool, really important, really awesome. This strength is just to get some requirement for your gear, but you are almost always stacking intelligence, as you can see all over the tree. In here we are getting critical hit chance, really important. In here we get maximum energy shield. In here we get 6% increase intelligence, really important. We are stacking intelligence and we get energy shield and all of that. In here, this is for the weapon swap. You can see the green line. This is not on our main tree. By the way, I am of course going to link the tree and all of that in the description so you can look at it carefully. But the green line, it means that it is only linked to our weapon swap, to our second set of weapon. So this is all energy recharge fast, so that when you swap up, you recharge energy fast with meditate. But this is not on our normal damage tree, right? And the same goes for this red line that you see here. This crit bonus, it is always working when we are hitting with our quarter staff. But when we swap out to recharge energy shield, this goes out. But it is not important because we are just recharging energy shield and going back to this build. So for this, we have crit bonus and intelligence and increased damage if you deal a critical hit. You are always dealing critical hits, right? This is a Jewel socket for +3 levels to Falling Thunder. Really important. We want as much levels as we can to Falling Thunder. If you don't have the Prince of Belief, you go for a Jewel that gives you energy shield and crit chance, obviously. In here, we obviously go for the evasion rating and energy shield. This one is really important. +1 to maximum energy shield per 12 evasion rating on equipped body armor. You could go for a full evasion chest, and then you get your energy shield for the full evasion. But I wanted the hybrid energy shield to get more energy shield, right? But that is up to you. Maybe experimenting, you find that the full evasion is better. I don't know, but hey, I am throwing it out there. On top in here, we have more critical hit chance, which is really important, and we have a Jewel socket. These Jewel sockets, for me, it is a megalomaniac. Not necessary, but it takes your build to the next level. If you want to know how to buy a good megalomaniac, I released a video talking about this exactly, because I did this for this build. Finding a good megalomaniac. I am going to link the video in the description. How to find a good megalomaniac, because this is a whole entire journey by itself. But this one gives me singular purpose and careful consideration. One is defensive and one is offensive. The defensive is careful consideration. 30% reduce evasion rating if you have been recently. But the important one is the second one. 100% increase evasion rating if you haven't been hit recently. Since you are evading, you are not getting hit, so you are getting the 100% most of the time. And the other one is singular purpose, which gives me 40% increased damage with 200 weapons. We are using a quarter staff, so it is a 200 weapon, right? Then we go down in here, power charges, really important. +2 to maximum power charges, really fucking cool. Then we get 20% in critical damage bonus if you consume the power charge. You are always consuming power charges. All of this is synergistic, dude. Then we get critical damage bonus because we are always critting. We need the bonus. Now, one of the most important parts of the tree, the quarter staff that gives you increased attack speed with quarter staff, increase critical damage bonus with quarter staff, and quarter staff skills that consume power charges count as consuming an additional power charge. We are doing that all the time with the Falling Thunder. Then we get critical hit chance, critical hit chance, critical hit chance, intelligence, all of that. This part of the tree is really important. Now, I don't remember how expensive this Yule is, but you can play the build without this, but this takes the build to the next fucking level. The important thing in here, you can tweak out whatever you want in here, but there is one thing that is necessary for the time lost Sapphire. You need notable passive skills in Radius also grant increased critical hit chance. This is important to cap your crit. I am hitting the 100% crit because of this Yule. If you don't get this Yule, you can still hit it, but you sacrifice other stuff in the tree. I don't want to sacrifice other stuff, so I went with this Yule. You can play the build without this. Of course you can, but it is better if you have it. That makes it so that all these things give you critical hit chance. As you can see, 7% increased critical hit chance. 7% increased critical hit chance. That comes from the time lost Sapphire. This is 32% because it normally gives 25%, and then the 7% from the time lost Sapphire. You put other stuff in there that is cool for you. For example, a small passive gives you increased maximum energy shield. That makes it so that these little ones, if they give you 3% increased maximum energy shield, that is cool. Not necessary, but good if you have it. So hey, try to look for this, dude. This is, for me, the most important part of the tree. The combination of the quarter staff stuff with the crit stuff with the time lost Sapphire. Then we go down in here, we get 50% increased lightning damage while affected by Herald of Thunder. We have Herald of Thunder, so this is a nice fucking damage increase, and one of the reasons we get the Herald of Thunder. And it doesn't matter like leveling of the Herald of Thunder, no, it just has to be active, even if it is a level 1 Thunder. That is what is cool in here. Then we get 20% increase elemental damage with attacks, really important. 12% increase elemental damage with attacks. 5% of physical damage from hits taken as damage of a random element. Really good because resistances are more effective than damage mitigation, physical damage mitigation. Really cool. And of course we get increased critical damage bonus, increased critical hit chance to round up our crits. Now I have this other Yule in here that is also explained in that same video where I explained the Megalomaniac. Not necessary. If you don't want to use it from nothing, just put in here a Yule that gives you increased crit chance, increased crit bonus, increased energy shield. You will be fine. But I wanted from nothing, and this from nothing for me, it gives me the Zealot's Oath. It doesn't give you the Zealot's Oath. You can put skills in around here without it being connected to your tree. The Zealot's Oath allowed me to put 25% increased damage, 25% increased damage, 25% increased damage, a lot of damage, much more damage that I could have gotten from a singular Sapphire Yule, right? So that is why I went with this. But there is a Yule that is better than this, but it's more expensive. The from nothing that gives you that you can allocate the stuff around Mind Over Matter, because that one gives you this node in here. This node is really important. Plus 5% to all elemental resistances and 30% increased elemental damage. This node is really good. So if you can get the from nothing to for mind over matter, that one is better than this one. You can put all natural, you can put storm charge and other stuff around here that all of this is increased elemental damage, which is really cool. Now, why are we stacking intelligence aside from the Hands of Wisdom? Because we are going to anoint on our Serpent's Egg the pure power node, and this is the pure power node. This is really important. This is fundamental for the build. That is why we are stacking intelligence. 2% increased lightning damage per 10 intelligence. We are always dealing lightning damage. We are stacking intelligence. There is a lot of damage that comes from this fucking node. So we are putting in every slot that we can in our gear, we put 10 intelligence. I needed to round down my resistances, so 14% fire resistance. This one I put evasion because, hey, I want to get evasion energy shield in the chest. In here I have a 14% core resistance. And, oh, this one also has evasion. But yes, you round up your defenses on your gear, but also if you can get the plus 10 intelligence, you get the plus 10 intelligence. Of course, in the other stuff, you get increased physical damage or increased elemental damage. You tweak it out to what gives you the most damage, right? But you are stacking as much intelligence as you want because you have the combination of the Hands of Wisdom and Action plus pure power, which gives you increased lightning damage per intelligence, increased lightning damage per intelligence. We are putting intelligence all over the place, and there are a lot of stuff that gives us intelligence, like heart stopping, for example. So as you can see, and in gear we are getting intelligence of in as many pieces of gear as we can. All my pieces give me intelligence, so I have high intelligence. I hit hard with lightning damage, and that is the passive skill tree. For the ascendancy, we go for the basic stuff. We get meditate because we need for defenses. We go for the spirit gains. As you can see in my gear, I don't have a spirit. Why? Because you gain a spirit for lead me through grace, which gives you a spirit from energy shield and evasion rating. That is one of the reasons too why I went for a hybrid chest to get from the two sources. But you can also go for the pure evasion. It is fine. Then we gain 10% of damage as extra lightning damage and 25% chance of shocking enemies to create a shock ground. The second part is not important. The important part is the first one. It is just a pure damage buff. And the last one is critical hits ignore non-negative enemy monster elemental resistances. Really important. We are always critting. We are always ignoring elemental resistances on monsters. So if you go into a map that says monsters have increased elemental resistances, you don't give a fuck about that because you are ignoring elemental resistances because you are always critting. All your hits are crits, dude. So this is really fucking cool. And yes, dude, I think I explained everything. That is the build. Wow, dude, there is a lot of stuff going on in here, but it is really cool. It is fun. I really recommend you try it. It requires a little bit of investment. Full disclosure, you can see that I am using Hands of Wisdom and Action, Ingenuity. I am using some jewels that are expensive, like the Timeless Sapphire. Not necessary, but really cool. The Megalomaniac, the From Nothing. Not necessary again, but really cool. So there is some investment in here. But brother, when you hit it, when you get to this point, really fucking satisfying. Really fucking satisfying. You kill bosses in really few shots. This build can, the only things that I don't recommend doing with this build is expedition and going into the simulacrum. Why? Because your profane ritual requires you to have corpses to get the charges. For some reason, the mobs from expedition don't leave corpses. I don't know if they consume them. I don't know if they are whatever the fuck, but they don't leave corpses, so we can't proc the profane ritual. And the same goes for the mobs in simulacrum. They don't drop corpses, so you are not getting profane ritual charges. But it is really good for breach mapping. Breach, really fucking good. And it is insanely good for ritual. I believe it is the best mechanic for this build is ritual. You are in an enclosed space with mobs, lot of corpses. You are falling thunder, blinding all over the place. Really, really good for ritual and really good for mapping. Really good for mapping bosses. Really good for tier 0, tier 1, and tier 2 pinnacle bosses. Tier 3 and tier 4 gets more complicated because you are squishy. doable, but you have to do the mechanics. But yes, if you want a build that is different, that is original, that is powerful, brother, nobody's playing this shit. Let's be honest in here, guys. This is a pretty original build of meta and powerful. Hey, here you have it, the Thunder God, dude. Just go ahead and do it. So yes, guys, let me know what you think about the build in the comments below. I love reading comments even when they don't agree with me. I want feedback on the guide, on the build, on everything, because I put a lot of love into this build, dude. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Thank you for being here, guys. Remember to like the video, to subscribe to the channel, all that cool stuff. Guys, thanks for being here. You guys are awesome. God bless you. And remember, don't be afraid ever, because this is just a ride.